Panel vans, also known as divvy vans or paddy wagons, have long been a part of Aussie culture. But did you know they also played a huge role in law enforcement? These ordinary vehicles were used for transporting prisoners to undercover operations and even riot control. Some were modified with hidden compartments, while others carried high-tech surveillance gear or forensic tools. Police needed vehicles that could handle the toughest terrains, blend into crowds, or chase down criminals. In this video, we will uncover 7 panel vans that you didn't know the police used and the surprising ways they were deployed. Number 1. Holden FJ Panel Van. When the Holden FJ panel van hit Australian roads in the 1950s, it quickly became a staple in police fleets. At a time when law enforcement relied on practicality over speed, the FJ stood out as a dependable workhorse. Officers needed a vehicle that could transport detainees, haul equipment, and serve as a mobile command post when necessary. The FJ was built for the job. With its enclosed cargo area, officers could store radios, crime scene tools, and even emergency medical kits, things that simply wouldn't fit in a standard police sedan. In rural areas, where police stations were often miles apart, this van became a lifeline. It could carry officers between towns, serve as a temporary holding cell, or even act as an impromptu first aid centre during emergencies. What made the FJ so popular among police wasn't just its versatility, it was its simplicity. The Grey Motor Inline 6 was a rugged and reliable engine that was easy to repair and capable of handling rough Australian roads. Spare parts were widely available, and maintenance was straightforward, making it an economical choice for police budgets. Some units were even modified with sirens and black and white paint schemes, giving them an authoritative presence on the road. As the 1950s came to a close, technology was advancing, and so were police needs. While the FJ had served its purpose, a new breed of panel vans was on the horizon, and one of them was the Holden EH panel van, which took policing to the next level. Number 2. Holden EH panel van. By the early 1960s, Australian policing had evolved. Law enforcement needed faster, more powerful vehicles that could handle both city streets and the vast, often unforgiving landscapes of rural Australia. This brought about the Holden EH panel van, a game changer for police departments across the country. With its introduction of the red inline 6 engine, the EH provided a significant boost in performance compared to its predecessors. Officers could now respond to emergencies more quickly while still benefiting from the utility of a panel van. Unlike earlier models, which were primarily used for transporting supplies and detainees, the EH found a niche in forensic and investigative work. Crime scene units needed a vehicle that could carry fingerprint kits, forensic cameras, and other specialized equipment to remote locations. The enclosed space allowed officers to store delicate tools safely while traveling over rough terrain. The EH panel van came especially handy during a fugitive manhunt, where modified EHs were used for long-term surveillance operations, allowing undercover officers to track a suspect while remaining unnoticed. The vans were outfitted with hidden compartments where officers could observe from a concealed position, making them effective tools in law enforcement. While the EH was an impressive step forward, by the early 1970s, police forces needed something even tougher. And the answer to this was the Ford Falcon XY. Number 3. Ford Falcon XY panel van. By the time the Ford Falcon XY panel van arrived, police work had changed dramatically. It wasn't just about transporting officers and equipment anymore. Covert operations, surveillance, and rapid response were becoming just as important. Police needed a vehicle that could keep up, one that offered both power and adaptability. The Falcon XY fit the bill perfectly. With its strong chassis and optional V8 engine, it was one of the most capable panel vans to ever enter police service. One of the XY's standout features was its ability to blend into everyday traffic while still packing serious performance under the hood. For officers involved in covert operations, this was a major advantage. Some police-modified XY panel vans were equipped with reinforced suspension and improved brakes, allowing them to chase down suspects if necessary. In some cases, these panel vans were even used to transport sensitive evidence. Large-scale drug busts and organised crime investigations required vehicles with secure enclosed storage areas, making the XY a logical choice. Some vans were fitted with hidden compartments, initially designed for smugglers but now repurposed by law enforcement to safely store weapons, documents, or seized contraband. With each passing decade, panel vans continued to evolve, adapting to the ever-changing demands of Australian policing. But while the Falcon XY was a powerhouse, Chrysler had something up its sleeves, ready to take on anything. Number 4. Chrysler Valiant CL Panel Van. By the late 1970s, policing in rural Australia was a challenge. Officers needed vehicles that could handle dirt roads, extreme heat, and long distances between towns. The Chrysler Valiant CL Panel Van proved to be one of the best tools for the job. Its rugged build and reliable Hemi 6-cylinder engine made it a favourite among officers patrolling remote areas. Unlike standard sedans, which struggled on rough terrain, the Valiant CL's suspension was built to withstand Australia's harsh conditions. Whether responding to incidents in the outback or transporting detainees between distant lockups, this van was up for the task. Law enforcement also appreciated its spacious cargo area. Many were fitted with secure partitions, allowing officers to transport prisoners without requiring additional escort vehicles. Others were modified with extra fuel tanks to extend their range, which was essential in areas where refueling stations were few and far between. Some departments even used the Valiant CL as a mobile field office, storing maps, radios, and emergency supplies inside. The most surprising use of the Valiant CL was for riot control. Some vans were specially equipped with storage racks for shields, batons, and tear gas launchers. When protests or large public disturbances broke out, these vehicles carried everything officers needed to restore order. While the Valiant CL was built for toughness, sometimes police needed to blend in rather than stand out, which brought about the Holden Sandman Panel Van. Number 5. Holden Sandman Panel Van. The Sandman wasn't a typical police vehicle. In fact, when it was first released, it was more associated with surfers, road trips, and custom paint jobs than law enforcement. But that's exactly what made it perfect for undercover work. In situations where police needed to observe criminal activity without drawing attention, the Sandman was an ideal choice. It didn't look like a police van, and that was the point. Officers used it to blend into crowds at festivals, stake out suspects, and even infiltrate organised crime groups. Beneath its stylish exterior, the Sandman was a practical vehicle. It had plenty of space for officers and surveillance equipment, while its powerful V8 engine meant it could keep up with any high-speed pursuit if necessary. Unlike traditional police vehicles, which often stood out in public settings, the Sandman's laid-back, civilian-friendly image made it perfect for covert operations. In some cases, officers even customised the vans with surfboards or decals to make them look like any other weekend cruiser. The Sandman proved that a vehicle's appearance could be just as important as its performance in law enforcement. But not every police situation called for stealth. Sometimes, brute force and speed were what mattered most, which brought about the need for the Ford Falcon XB Panel Van. Number 6. Ford Falcon XB Panel Van. The Ford Falcon XB Panel Van was built for action. With its aggressive design and high-performance V8 engine options, it was one of the fastest and most powerful panel vans ever used by police. Unlike the Sandman, which was chosen for its ability to blend in, the XB was all about making a statement. It was used for riot control, emergency response, and high-speed pursuits. Any situation where officers needed both speed and strength. One of the key reasons police departments loved the Falcon XB was its durability. Its reinforced bodywork and heavy-duty suspension allowed it to handle tough conditions. Whether it was charging through barricades during a riot or speeding down the highway in pursuit of a getaway car. Some units were even modified with roll cages and reinforced bumpers, making them nearly indestructible in high-risk situations. Perhaps the most incredible use of the XB was its involvement in high-speed chases. In the 1970s, criminals began using more powerful cars to evade police, and traditional patrol sedans struggled to keep up. The XB panel van changed that. Officers driving these vans could match the speed of fleeing suspects, and in some cases, they were even faster than standard police sedans. This made them an essential asset in stopping high-risk offenders before they could escape. The Falcon XB set a new standard for power and durability in police panel vans. But as law enforcement moved into the late 1970s and early 1980s, a new vehicle emerged that combined all the best elements of its predecessors: power, reliability, and cutting-edge handling, the Holden HZ panel van. Number 7. Holden HZ panel van. In the late 1970s, Australian police were dealing with increasingly complex operations, from large-scale emergencies to long-distance patrols. They needed vehicles that could serve multiple roles without compromising performance, and the Holden HZ panel van delivered exactly that. Unlike earlier panel vans that focused on utility, the HZ brought a level of refinement that made it ideal for high-pressure police work. With its radial-tuned suspension, it offered superior handling, allowing officers to drive confidently at higher speeds and across unpredictable terrain. For search and rescue operations, especially in Australia's remote regions, the HZ became an essential tool. Some were fitted with additional communication equipment, allowing officers to coordinate efforts in areas where radio signals were weak. During emergencies such as bushfires, floods, or large-scale public events, these vans became temporary field offices, giving officers a secure base to manage operations. Others were used for extended highway patrols, covering vast distances where police presence was scarce. A lesser-known fact about the HZ is that it was sometimes used to transport high-risk detainees under heavy security. Its spacious, enclosed cargo area allowed for reinforced partitions, making it safer for officers escorting dangerous criminals. With its versatility and durability, the HZ was one of the last great police panel vans before the shift to modern patrol vehicles. So, what do you think about these police panel vans? Did any of them surprise you? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more fascinating stories like this. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.